morning, Joe. Thank you for joining me today.
Lana, thank you so much for asking me to join.
Yes, so we have Joe Rosen, and would you like to describe your role with the Parkinson's Resource Organization for our listeners?
Thank you so much. So, 31 years ago, I was in need of information and support, and I couldn't find it because it was not available for adult children of people with Parkinson's or for spousal caregivers of people with Parkinson's. So I decided that I would create that forum. And actually, I made a deal with God. If she would teach me everything I needed to know about Parkinson's for the betterment of my husband and my mother, I would share it with the world. And Parkinson's Resource Organization is the vehicle that we use to share it with the world.
Wow, so it's touched your life in multiple ways then, it sounds like.
It did. And I'm so grateful because it has been not only a wonderful learning experience, but it's been super rewarding because of the we've helped thousands of people today that we would never have known we could have such a huge outreach, number one. And number two, I think, we can throw numbers at something like there are 10 million people with Parkinson's, but until you start helping the multitudes of them, those numbers don't have the same meaning as the reality of it. And so we know we're just helping thousands of people right now around the world. And it's very heartwarming in the sense of being able to help, but it's also very disconcerting and concerning because Parkinson's is growing so rapidly. It's really considered in many eyes and in many viewpoints as its own pandemic right now. So I would describe Parkinson's as a movement disorder that over time starts impairing or inhibiting movement within the entire body.
So if someone you knew or a loved one recently received a diagnosis for Parkinson's, what advice or guidance would you give someone who was just beginning this journey?
The first thing I think I would say to them or advice I would give to them is to breathe. Just relax and breathe and understand that you heard some words probably for the first time in your life that you don't know anything about, and your doctor may or may not have told you anything about it either. They may say something like you have an early stage or you have a small case or something like that, but it is something that needs to be researched, needs to be learned, needs to be investigated. And so someone newly diagnosed, I would suggest talks to a professional who understands Parkinson's, or and probably as importantly, get involved with support groups that discuss and talk about Parkinson's disease. When I say explore and investigate, I'm not necessarily talking about getting on Google and just finding everything you can about Parkinson's. It may be very, very frightening. And I'm not suggesting either that you get into the Facebook groups that are talking about Parkinson's from early stage, but most of the time they're talking about advanced Parkinson's because there are stages in the development of Parkinson's. So we would want someone who's newly diagnosed to understand A, it's not the end of life. B, it's a new job, taking care of oneself. And there are things that you can start addressing in your life if you haven't already done so that can help get you through the journey of the disease process in a very, at least comfortable way. We're always looking for quality of life, no matter what we have, even if it's a life without a disease process. But in Parkinson's, we're looking for quality of life. And so breathe would be the first thing. And get to the acceptance part of having this disease as fast as you can. Exercise is really the best medicine. And then we would go to learning how to meditate and de-stress. We would talk about eating healthy because that would be critically important as well. And if we had a chance to talk to people before they were diagnosed, we would talk to them about getting long-term care insurance, because during the process of this, they're going to need support and help from companies like Cambrian Healthcare or Home Care in the Long Beach area that we know about so well. And we want them to know that there are resources and support systems that are available to them, and to be able to reach out. Because one person alone cannot take care of a person with Parkinson's all the way through their life. It takes a village, and we have one of those. So we are an organization that is an emotional and educational organization. Our focus is not research, but we research everything that we do, and we research a lot. We're always trying to stay in front of what's happening in the Parkinson's world. So we are an organization that through education, we have a monthly newsletter that has really current and very important articles on the disease, on potential cures of the disease, on support systems that are available for the disease, and working with the families. And that's our monthly newsletter. That monthly newsletter is sent on a physical basis, but it's also very much so on our website, which is essentially a blog of information. Our website is another educational tool, and it is filled with wonderful, robust information, current and important information, and even some of the old Bubblemeisters, as I would call them at my age, the old things that worked a long time ago and they still work. And so we report that on the website. We also on the website have something that is unique and incredibly magnificent and important for the Parkinson's community. It's called the Wellness Village. And the Wellness Village is a virtual, meaning it's on the website. It's a vetted, meaning we make sure that anybody that is in the Wellness Village is licensed, is appropriate for the community, and is prepared and ready to help our constituents, our community. So it's virtual vetted, it's video driven. Every page of a professional on the website has a video, so someone knows why they would go to that company or that person to employ them in whatever their need is. And so it's virtual, vetted, video driven, and it's a resource directory. So right now we are the only Parkinson's organization in the world that has this kind of a directory. And it becomes partly educational, but also part of the emotional support. We then have we have regular, some are monthly, some are weekly support group meetings. These are also virtual since COVID-19. And these support groups, so we have support groups specifically for partners in care. We have support groups that we call roundtables for the people with Parkinson's and their family members, and even the professionals. Many of them in the Wellness Village even come to these meetings. We have village meetings where the wellness villagers that are in the Wellness Village directory that we just talked about come to share what they can do for the community, either they themselves or someone similar to them, what they can do for the community. And then we're now beginning to do specialty support groups. We right now have a mindfulness support group, meets once a month. It's led by a medical hypnotherapist. And so the subjects that so far have been covered is sleep, anxiety, and there's actually one of those meetings going on today, and I don't know what the subject matter is, but it's always very concise, and it is something that every participant has an opportunity to learn something special for themselves, by themselves, and along with others. We have another group that we will be starting soon called the Grief Group, and it's not grief about death. This is a grief group about losses. As someone goes through Parkinson's, whether they be a caregiver or a person with it, they are all experiencing losses every day. the
Sure.
loss of movement, the loss of ability to do something for the person with Parkinson's. And then for the caregiver, it's the loss of that buddy, that person that they loved and for so long, and the changes that are going on there, or the loss of their rainbow that they thought they would have when they got to a certain age in life, and now that might be missing. So we have, and we'll start building some support groups specifically for young people with Parkinson's. Our first group is going to be a group of people who are from 20 years old to 35 years old, because they have issues and concerns very different from those who are 62 and above. And then we'll start a group for also young people with Parkinson's from like 36 to maybe 62, because they have issues. They're raising children, they're trying to work, etc. And how do we get through that? And so we're developing specialty support groups, and so that's the emotional part. We have one-on-one coaching that's available for anyone who wants to talk to a Joe Rosen or someone else on staff who has the credentials to walk them through what they should be thinking about as they're going through this journey. So again, back to education and emotional support, we do it from every angle possible. And we love what we do, but we also get tremendous testimonials from our constituents. So it's a good thing. But we work from the homeless all the way to the very rich of people. We go from any race, creed, or color matters not to us, because what's helpful or important to us is to raise them up, to elevate them, to walk through this journey with the greatest quality of life possible.
That's wonderful. You grant grace to so many people, and I'm always going to remember your first bit of advice is to breathe. No matter what we're given in life, you can still take a breath and take a moment. And it's wonderful to know that if something as dramatic as Parkinson's affects you or your loved one, that the Parkinson's Resource Organization is here. Well, Joe Rosen, president and founder of PRO, we are so thankful for your words today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Lana. It was my pleasure.